The first time Caleb saw her, she was walking barefoot down the long gravel path that split his dusty field. Her heels dangled from one hand, and her white blouse clung to her skin, soaked with sweat and desperation. Her eyes, though rimmed red, were alert, like she hadn't slept in a day, but still had no intention of collapsing. Caleb was on his knees, fixing the irrigation pipe again. Another crack, another leak, another reason the bank had said, "We're giving you till fall, Mr. Hargrove." His hands were stained with oil and mud, and his back ached from years of keeping the farm alive with duct tape and silent prayers. But when he looked up and saw the woman standing 10 feet away, blinking hard beneath the scorching sun, he stood. She didn't say anything at first. He beat her to it. "Car trouble." She nodded. "Phone's dead. No signal. I saw the house down the hill. I thought, you can use mine." Caleb didn't ask who she was or where she was headed. He just turned toward his rusted red barn, then to the side door that led to the kitchen. "Come on. It's cooler inside." She hesitated for only a second before following. His house was plain, quiet, the kind of quiet that echoed. He handed her his cracked old phone without saying much. He noticed her hesitation as she stared at the screen. "You sure it works?" "Yeah. No passcode," he said, watching her curiously. She dialed fast, turned away, spoke in low, clipped tones. Caleb didn't pry. He poured her a glass of cold water and set it on the table like it was normal to have strange women wander into your life on a Tuesday morning. She took the glass when she hung up, but her fingers trembled. "You okay?" he finally asked. Her eyes met his. "Yeah, she paused. "You're kind." He shrugged. "Ain't much. Just a phone." "No, it's more than that. People don't usually help." She drank the water in 3 long gulps, like it was the first good thing she'd had in days. "Someone coming to pick you up?" She nodded. "Soon, I think. I hope." Caleb didn't push. He nodded and went back to checking the stove, pretending to look busy. But when she stood up and thanked him again, he caught a glimpse of something odd. A small wireless earpiece falling from her pocket and bouncing on the hardwood floor. She froze. He bent to pick it up. "Is this?" She quickly snatched it, tucking it away. "Thanks." She didn't offer more, and Caleb didn't ask. But his gut stirred. By the time she left, barefoot still, though she had put her heels in her bag, Caleb stood on his porch, arms crossed, eyes on the dusty horizon. She turned once before walking out of sight. "You're going to hear from me again." He raised a brow. "I didn't even get your name." She smiled for the first time. "You don't need it yet." And just like that, she vanished down the hill again. That was 11:42 a.m. By 6:07 p.m., there were 3 black SUVs crawling up his road. By 6:19, a white helicopter was circling above his cornfield like it was searching for a fugitive or a treasure. By 6:34, Caleb's land was lit up like a movie set, and men in black suits were stepping out, asking for him by name. "You helped someone this morning," one of them said. "I help lots of people." "No, you helped her." Caleb's chest tightened. "She in trouble?" The man looked around, then back at him. "No, Mr. Hargrove. You're not. That woman you helped is one of the richest women in the country. And right now, she's asking for you." Caleb didn't respond right away. He just stared at the man in the black suit, feeling his throat dry out like the cracked soil under his boots. "What do you mean she's asking for me?" he said cautiously, gripping the porch rail tighter than he realized. The man's tone didn't change. "She told us, quote, 'Find a man with the kind eyes who'll let me use his phone. Do whatever it takes. Don't scare him.'" Caleb blinked. "And you thought flying a chopper over my damn cornfield wouldn't scare me?" For the first time, the suit cracked a smile. "Fair point." Another man stepped forward, younger, with slicked hair and a tablet in hand. "You're Caleb Hargrove, 37. Own this farm. Running a loss for 5 years straight. Declined bankruptcy twice. Refused government buyout offers. Still trying to hold on to your land." "What?" Caleb frowned. "You FBI? CIA?" "We're neither," the man replied coolly. "We work for the Ashcroft Foundation." Caleb's brain halted. He'd heard that name. Anyone who ever watched the news knew that name. It was in headlines when companies were saved, hospitals were funded, even international crises defused. The Ashcrofts weren't just rich, they were untouchable rich. And dangerous rich, if rumors were true. The young man tapped his screen. Ms. Evelyn Ashcroft left a private galley yesterday. Her driver had a stroke at the wheel. Car lost signal near a blind zone, veered off onto an old back road. She refused to call security. Said she needed air. That's when she found your farm. Caleb's heart was pounding now. She seemed normal. She's not. The older man cut in again. She's different. She doesn't forget kindness. That's why we're here. From the distance, another low thunder rolled through the sky. A second helicopter. Caleb raised a brow. You bringing the army now? Actually, the younger man smiled. She's in that one. Minutes later, a sleek white aircraft touched down in the clearing near the north fence, blowing Caleb's hat clean off his head. Dust flew everywhere. He shielded his face as the door opened, and Evelyn stepped out. No heels this time, just sneakers and a clean, crisp blue dress. Her expression was unreadable until her eyes landed on Caleb. Then she smiled like she had found something she thought she'd lost. I told you I'd be back, she said, walking straight to him. Caleb tried to hide the way his pulse jumped. And I said I never got your name. She extended her hand, confident and calm. Evelyn. He took it. Firm grip. Caleb. She looked around, then tilted her head at the sea of corn, the peeling white paint on his porch, and the sweat still clinging to his brow. This place, it's yours. For now. Evelyn nodded slowly. Would you sell it? Caleb paused. To you. To anyone. No, he said without hesitation. This land's got my blood in it. She smiled wider. Good. I'm not here to buy it. Then what are you here for? Evelyn glanced at her team. Everyone, give us a moment. One by one, the suits turned and walked a few paces back, hovering just far enough not to be heard. She turned back to Caleb, her voice soft now. The world I live in doesn't reward goodness. You offered it without asking anything in return. That's rare. I don't need a trophy for doing what's right. I know, she whispered. That's why I trust you. Her gaze didn't waver. I'm going to make you an offer. Not for your land, not for your name, but for your time. I need someone outside the noise. Someone grounded. Caleb tilted his head. You want me to work for you? No, she said carefully. I want to trust you. That's more than work. He crossed his arms. I'm just a farmer. You're the kind of man people forget until they need saving, Evelyn said. And I don't forget. She handed him a phone. New. Sleek. Already unlocked. This one's for you. In case you say yes. He didn't take it. I don't say yes to things I don't understand. Then come find out, she said, already turning back toward the helicopter. Where would I even go? Caleb called after her. She glanced over her shoulder. Anywhere you want. But start with dinner tonight. He hesitated. Then, without realizing it, he looked at his empty fields, the dying crops, the bank letter on the fridge behind his screen door, and the years of exhaustion on his back. Maybe this was kindness returning, or maybe it was something else entirely. But Caleb picked up the phone and said, I'll see you at dinner. The sun had barely dipped below the horizon when a sleek black SUV pulled up to Caleb's dirt driveway. He stood there on his porch, shirt freshly ironed, first time in months, and boots wiped clean of dust. He felt out of place, out of sync, like he was walking into someone else's story. But the hum of that quiet engine, the way the driver stepped out in a crisp suit and opened the back door without a word, it all told him one thing. He wasn't in his world anymore. Evelyn sat inside, legs crossed, fingers lightly touching the edge of her seat. She wore a tailored navy coat over her dress now. Professional, composed. But her smile, when their eyes met, it was something else. Soft. Real. Hi again, she said as he climbed in beside her. Caleb gave her a skeptical look. You sure this ain't a kidnapping? She laughed. If it were, would I be offering you steak or salmon? I'll take the one that doesn't come with handcuffs. As the car pulled away, Caleb watched the dirt roads turn to pavement, then smooth highways, then a private turnoff with no signs and too many cameras. He'd never seen this side of the county before. A hidden estate sat tucked behind rows of cypress trees, where the driveway wound up to a modern glass mansion that shimmered in the moonlight like something out of a magazine. He didn't belong here, and he knew it. But when they stepped inside, the air didn't feel heavy with wealth. It felt quiet, intentional, like this house had seen pain too. Dinner wasn't with a crowd. No big table. Just the two of them in a private dining room with warm wood walls and soft yellow light. A chef, an actual chef, served them a perfect fillet and wine Caleb couldn't pronounce. Evelyn barely touched hers. "You still think this is weird?" she asked. "I think this is the part where I find out you're either an alien or running from something," Caleb said, cutting into his steak. She tilted her head. "You're not far off." He paused. "Which part?" She stared into her glass. "I'm running. Not from the law, but from expectation. Pressure. People who want my money more than my company. My voice." Caleb leaned back. "So you found a dirt farmer to talk to instead?" "I found someone who listened without knowing who I was." He studied her. "You hiding?" "No," she said, voice steady. "I'm choosing." "Choosing what?" "Who I want near me when everything falls apart." The words hung there like fog. And then she looked up, eyes not polished anymore, raw. "My own board of directors tried to vote me out last month. Said I was too emotional, too unpredictable. I wanted to pull investment from a few corrupt projects they had stakes in. They threatened me. Said I'd regret it." Caleb's jaw clenched. "They don't scare you." "They did. Until today." She paused. "Until I walked barefoot through a field and met someone who reminded me that good still exists." Caleb set down his fork. "You want to fight them?" "I want to gut them," she whispered. "But not with lawsuits or public drama. I want to be smarter, calmer, kinder, even, because that will hurt them most." Caleb exhaled slowly. "You want a war? You just want to fight it your way?" "Yes." He nodded. "And where do I fit in?" She looked at him, long, like she was memorizing the shape of his soul. "I want you to help me stay human." He blinked. "I plow dirt for a living. I'm not your moral compass." "But you are," she said gently. "You're exactly what I need. Because you have nothing to gain, and that makes you dangerous in the best way." Caleb laughed once, bitterly. "You don't know me. I got flaws like rust under paint." "So do I," she said. "That's why I trust you." The rest of the dinner was quiet, thoughtful. When the SUV brought him home, the moon was high. He walked back up his porch steps, slower than usual, the silence around him louder somehow. Before going inside, he stopped, turned around, and stared out over the field. It looked the same, but didn't feel the same. And sitting on his porch, with the wind nudging the screen door, Caleb realized something. This wasn't a coincidence. It was the beginning of a storm. And this time, he wasn't planning to hide from it. 3 days later, Caleb was back in his field, hands in the dirt. The sun was relentless, but it was honest. Unlike most things in his life lately, the new phone Evelyn gave him buzzed in his pocket. Again, he ignored it. Again, he didn't know what he was anymore. A farmer? A bodyguard without a gun? A moral checkpoint for a billionaire who was about to wage a war of silence against the men who tried to destroy her? He'd said yes to dinner. He hadn't said yes to everything. But that didn't stop the SUVs from showing up again that evening. This time with Evelyn herself stepping out, alone, in jeans and a windbreaker. No heels. No guards. She walked straight to him in the field. "You're avoiding me." He stood up slowly. "I'm thinking. About. You. This. What happens next? Whether I'm being played." Evelyn folded her arms. "You think I'm lying? I think you're used to control. And I'm not a piece you can move across your board." She didn't flinch. "You're not. You're the only one who doesn't move when I push." "Then why me?" "Because I need someone who'll call me out before I lose myself." Caleb shook his head. "No. You want someone who'll make you feel justified." She stepped closer, tone lowering. "Do you know what it's like to walk into a boardroom and realize every smile is a threat? Every handshake, a trap? These people, men I fed, hired, trained, they're tearing pieces of me off while they toast champagne behind my back. And the moment I fall silent, they'll replace me with someone colder. Someone corrupt." He stared at her. "You came here hoping a farmer would give you permission to stay angry." "No," she whispered. "I came here hoping you'd remind me who I was before the money." Caleb's heart stuttered, because behind all her power, there was something else. A girl who'd never gotten to be just a girl. A daughter who'd grown up too fast. A woman everyone expected to act like stone when inside. She was bleeding. He nodded toward the porch. "Come inside. Not a talk strategy. Just breathe." She followed him in silence. Sat at his table again. No wine. No silverware. Just cracked mugs and chipped plates and the sound of wind against wood. "Was it always this quiet here?" she asked. "Not always. But quiet don't mean empty." She nodded slowly, as if letting the stillness settle into her bones. "I envy that." That night, Evelyn didn't leave in an SUV. She stayed. On the couch. under a blanket he offered, in the house that had no guards, no glass walls, no security gates. For the first time in years, she slept like she wasn't afraid. And when morning came, Caleb found her outside barefoot again, standing in the cornfield with the rising sun behind her. She turned and smiled. "I'm not asking you to fight for me, Caleb. I know. I'm asking you to stand beside me when I do." He thought for a long moment, then nodded once. "Then we do it your way." She tilted her head. "What does that mean?" "You go clean. I'll go silent. You keep your name. I'll keep your secrets. And when it's over, you walk away with your soul still intact. And you." He smiled sadly. "I never had much to lose." That day, Caleb made his first call using her new phone. Not to banks or lawyers. To his cousin, the only man he knew who could trace private funds without leaving footprints. The plan had begun. It began quietly, like all the most dangerous storms do. One by one, Evelyn's board members started receiving subtle shocks. Not lawsuits, not confrontations. Something worse. Isolation. Their overseas accounts, blocked for investigation. Their private investments, stalled by routine audits. Their reputations, slowly unraveling through anonymous reports, each one too precise to ignore, but too clean to trace. They didn't suspect Evelyn. They suspected each other, exactly as Caleb planned. While Evelyn played the part of the concerned CEO, smiling, deflecting, performing contrition, Caleb stayed hidden in the background, collecting everything. Paper trails, backroom deals, bribery logs. He didn't go in loud. He slipped through unnoticed. A man who looked like no one, because no one expected the help to hold the match. By the time the first resignation rolled in, Evelyn hadn't lifted a public finger. But the real twist came with board member number 4, George Lansing, the ringleader, the one who told her, "Men like you, but they don't follow women. Stay in your place." Caleb followed him for weeks. Found the offshore shell accounts. Found the young woman, paid to stay silent. Found the private flights and fake charities. And he didn't go to the press. He went to George's wife. Evelyn hadn't approved that part. When she found out, she was furious. "You blindsided me," she snapped. "You promised this would be quiet." Caleb's voice didn't rise. "He humiliated you, threatened your name. You still wanted him to walk away with a golden parachute." "I wanted him exposed legally." "No," Caleb said, eyes cold. "You wanted him harmlessly embarrassed. I made sure he can't rebuild." Evelyn stared at him like she didn't recognize him. "What happened to the kind farmer?" Caleb stepped closer, jaw clenched. "He died the moment you asked him to fight a war with no guns." The silence between them was the kind that cracks something invisible. But later that night, she knocked on his door again. This time, not to yell. "I didn't thank you," she said quietly. "You don't need to." "I do," she insisted. "Because you did what I couldn't." Caleb looked at her. Really looked. "You still want to be kind. I want to be whole." He reached for her hand. "Then don't forget what kindness feels like." That night, they didn't plan, didn't scheme, just sat on the porch, side by side, while the crickets sang, and the wind reminded them both that the world kept turning, even when people tried to tear it apart. 2 weeks later, Evelyn walked into her next board meeting with new power. 4 resignations, 3 investigations, 1 restructured company, under her rules, her ethics, her vision. And she didn't say a word about the farmer sitting in the back row. He wasn't wearing a suit. He didn't speak once. But the fear in the board's eyes when they saw him told her everything she needed to know. The message was clear. Don't mistake quiet for weak. A year passed. The land at Caleb's farm bloomed for the first time in 5 seasons. New irrigation, restored barns, workers, real ones, hired from the county, paid above minimum wage. Evelyn had invested not in the property, but in him, quietly. No spotlight, no speeches. One evening, Evelyn arrived at his house in an old pickup truck, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. "Thought you had meetings in New York," he said. "I canceled," she replied. "I needed to breathe." He nodded. "This place does that." She stepped closer. "I thought I'd help with the harvest." He smirked. "You know how to husk corn? I learned how to fire corrupt billionaires. Corn should be easy." And as the sun dipped behind the field, they stood side by side again, not as billionaire and farmer, but as 2 people who survived a storm by holding onto the parts of themselves that mattered.